Teacher talking sports, what does, what do, how we live. And last night, the Detroit Pistons did what they basically do best, and that is lose to their opponent. They have the worst record in the NBA. But if you look at last night's box score, something really stands out. So, yes, Hawks beat the Pistons 121 to 113. But look at the Pistons. Look at their bench. We got him right here. Malachi Flynn in 34 minutes, 18 of 25 from the field, 5 of 9 from deep, 9 for 12 from the free throw line, 50 points. Also added 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Incredible performance for a guy who had only been averaging 4.6 points per game entering the game. 62 games total with the Raptors, Knicks, and Pistons for his career. He's averaged 5.2 points per game. This is his 4th season. Was selected 29th overall by the Raptors in 2020. I did read, I think it was on ESPN, that since the NBA has differentiated starters and bench and box scores, I think 1970-71, Flynn is only the 3rd player off the bench to score 50 at least, along with Jamal Crawford and Nick Anderson. So it got me to thinking, who is Malachi Flynn the most obscure 50-point scorer in NBA history? That's not an easy thing to answer, but Hoops Hype did this back in 2022. I wonder if they're going to do it again. Not just Sadiq Bey. These are all the non-All-Stars with 50-point games. So this was written March 18th, 2022. Sadiq Bey had a 50-point game with the Detroit Pistons. Now he's with the Atlanta Hawks. But goes on to talk about all the guys who have scored 50 points and never made an all-star team. Some of these players are not obscure, led by Jamal Crawford, one of the best bench scorers in NBA history. Purvis Short, he was a good scorer during his time. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, the former Chris Jackson, he maybe the younger generation isn't aware of him, but a lot became aware of him when Phil Jackson actually said that compared Steph Curry to him. That was kind of shocking to some people. Nick Anderson, he was a starter on an NBA Finals team, guy who put up around 20 a night some seasons. Corey Brewer, that was definitely surprising. I do remember that, but he did have a lengthy NBA career. Willie Burton, that's definitely a fairly obscure guy to score 50 in a game. Then we got Tony Delk. This one I was very young when this happened, but I do remember it. Excuse me. Battling a cold. But anyhow, Delk was at least pretty famous for his time in college basketball at Kentucky. Eric Gordon has been one of the better scorers to not be an all-star. Jim Jackson, likewise. Brandon Jennings, he came into the NBA with that 55-point game, was incredible. Not really obscure, although his career may not have fully gone as planned. Neil Johnston, I believe he's in the Hall of Fame, and he did it way back in 1954, so he's definitely not obscure, at least for his time. Yes, he is in the Hall of Fame. Karis LeVert, he's one of the better bench scorers, and he's been starting a lot for Cleveland this season. Kevin Martin, another very good scorer during his time. Vernon Maxwell started for a Rockets team and won the NBA Finals. CJ McCollum, known as one of the better players to never make an all-star team. Andre Miller, I mean, it was surprising because he's always been a pass-first guy, but he's definitely not obscure. Tracy Murray, another guy you could consider fairly obscure, but he had some decent scoring seasons in his career. Definitely more points per game than Malachi Flynn. He actually had a season where he averaged 16.2 points per game, another averaged 15.1. Mike Newland had a couple seasons where he averaged around 20 a night. Terrence Ross at the time, Wasn't a big name, but he later became like a Jamal Crawford, like a Lou Williams, one of the better bench scorers. Charles Smith, unfortunately, as a Knicks fan, I know him very well. If you know, you know. Damon Stoudemire, he's definitely not obscure. Former Rookie of the Year. T.J. Warren, bubble superstar, but he had some quality scoring averages prior to the bubble. Walt Wesley, I wasn't too familiar with him, but he had a couple of seasons averaging 18 or 19. Same with Freeman Williams. Lou Williams, like Crawford, like Ross, one of the best bench scorers. Ray Williams, I'm surprised he never made an all star team. He had some good numbers in his career. John Williamson actually has his jersey retired by the Nets. Jamal Murray, we know how awesome he is despite never being an all star. Kevin Porter Jr., ah, man. Um, he's not even in the NBA anymore. You could look up why if you want to. And Sadiq Bey in 2022. I'm not quite sure if another non All Star's done it since, prior to Malachi Flynn. But I would say Malachi Flynn might be the most obscure of all those guys named. Incredible to see. Definitely unexpected. As I mentioned, I'm a Knicks fan. He had his moments with the Knicks, but he was basically third string behind Jalen Brunson and Miles McBride, so barely got to play. But what are your thoughts? Is Malachi Flynn the most obscure 50-point game scorer in NBA history? Was it one of those guys I mentioned from the Hoops Hype article? Let me know. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.